Hi y'all, welcome to my shop. Today we're going to turn this beautiful koa bowl the koa wood was gifted to me by my good friend Emiliano Achaval from Maui, who made a shop visit recently as we and was my house guest as we made our way up to Chattanooga, carpool together for the recent symposium. Koa may be one of the most spectacular and most expensive hardwood lumbers in the world. It only grows in Hawaii. It's quite rare, as very little koa remains in the agricultural areas, and it's got to be in where harvesting is permitted. Most of the remaining koa is in the conservation areas where harvesting is usually prohibited. It can be highly figured. It has a wide range of colors and the highest levels of chatoyancy. So Emiliano had already had a tenon on each end. Let me change the view. And I've got to change this a little bit to adjust these to my chuck size. So I've got it slid over a larger inside a larger set of jaws, and then I'm going to size these for my bowl jaws. And I'm going to start with using a 40/40 grind. Okay, so I've marked the tenon size, and we're just going to turn that on and slowly ease that speed up to, this is maybe a 10-inch bowl, so I don't want to get too fast initially, maybe 600, 700. And we're just going to come down to that very first line. And then I'm going to fine tune it with this detail gouge, because this is a dovetail set of jaws I'm going to be using. These, I think, 75 millimeter bowl jaws. So I'll put a slight dovetail, check the angle, it looks pretty good. Bring this across so it'll have a nice face, nice clean corner. Okay. All right, so I eye down that and see. Ooh, kind of hard to see, please. No, I don't have a good dovetail. Let me go back and try that again. Got to slope it in a little bit. Ride the bevel. Slowly lift the handle. Okay, now I have a nice dovetail. All right, since I've got it fairly secure, he had a larger tenon on the back that I could get inside and actually tighten against it with these my Titan power grip jaws. So I'm going to go ahead and start cutting the profile. And I'm still trying to figure out what that profile will be, but I think I've got a pretty good idea. Okay, I'm not going to pretend to know how to turn a calabash form, but I went and found a bowl that looked a little bit like it. I turned this in a workshop with a noted Irish woodturner Glenn Lucas, and this was generally the shape of a Viking bowl found in Dublin Viking bowl. So that's the kind of shape, if I can get this oriented. So that's right. Generally the profile that I'm looking for. So I'm not going to take the bottom back. It's going to be a somewhat shallow bowl. This is not a real deep blank. Press the tool rest just a bit. Have it 45 degrees of the work. I'm not sure about how well that the tenon, I'm using the original tenon, so I don't want to remove the tailstock support where I can get completely to the bottom. I can clean up the bottom when we reverse it. Whoa. It's a very hard wood. And I'm using the 40/40 grind, and I tell you, it's just not getting me where I want to go. So I'm going to switch back to a little steeper grind. Something more on the order of 50 degrees or so, because I think I can ride the bevel a little better. Well, got to drop the handle. Wow, This is a very grabby wood for me. So it's going to take me a little while to figure out how it wants to be cut. Okay, it's beginning to approach the profile that I'm looking for. And I want to come in just a little bit on the side. I had to do a little epoxy repair, so not sure, the jury's still out on how well that's going to hold up, turn out. Because of the figure, this is going to need a really sharp tool. I think I may have to go back and sharpen this again. Round over here, because it's going to have a bead on the top. Cleanly. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a tiny little V groove there using a flat scraper to kind of mark the width of that bead, and I want it to be, you know, about as thick as that one. So we're going to come in here flat and just kind of caress it a little bit. Okay, now I'm just going to cut into that bead. Not perfectly round here yet. Bring it around just very carefully. I'm using a shear cut because this figure. And I'm going to get speed up. It's going a little slow, and it's not going anywhere, I don't think, with that tailstock support. Anchor the tool, slowly rotate the bevel into it till I start getting a cut. That's probably close I'm going to get with that bowl gouge. I'm going to get in here with that detail gouge to get that slight undercut. Got a little bit of epoxy that's bouncing on the front face. Let me get rid of a little bit more of that. Otherwise, I won't know for sure it's bead size. Okay, I wasn't getting as clean a cut, so let's see, now that I've resharpened it, let's see if I can't get a cleaner cut into that bead. Drop the handle, ride the bevel, slowly lift till it cuts. Oh yeah. Sweet. Oh wow, wow, much improved cut. Still got a little bit of edge there, a little bit of edge here. I think I'm going to kind of shear scrape the bottom here. All right, so I'm riding the bevel, slowly rotating it around, and lifting the handle till I see some shit. Whoa, that was too aggressive. Too much of an edge in the wood. All right. Let's see the profile here. I think I can almost get a shear scrape. Let's see if I can do a bit of a shear scrape here. I got some pretty nasty tear out there I've got to fix. Ooh. And it's too much of an angle for me to come in. It'd be different if I could remove this, but I'm really leery of that tenon holding. Let's pull this back and yeah, I don't want to do that. It's not enough. It was a secondary tenon that he's got on there. Now I probably I could go back and fix it, and that's probably what I need to do with that one. I'm gonna take my time. It's too pretty wood to mess up, so I'm going to chuck this, add this tenon to the front, go back and bring it back, and then I'll be able to better use the my tool gouge to give free access and do a little better job on that. Okay, so I put on some 75 millimeter, I think, bowl jaws, the wide face, using that dovetail tenon that I added. Very nice solid tenon. Don't have to worry about this coming loose. Now I'll be able to do the same thing with the front. Get kind of a template here to give me a pretty good idea where to come in on that thing. Then that dovetail recess. Ride the bevel here a little bit, just inside the tenon, slowly lift it up. Now we can go ahead and turn this thing around, and I'll have full access to the back. So I've got some tear out here, got some very bad tear out of there, and so we're going to ride the bevel. We have to, let's see here, try to run this thing here. Get that on the other side. Okay. Never touch the spinning wood. Okay, that's a pretty surface. Still got just a couple little spots there I need to keep working on. Down here. Wow, what beautiful figure. Oh, this is going to be lovely. Before I reverse it, let me see, did I get a nice clean detail in there? And I'd like to clean that bead up just a little bit by getting just a tiny bit more detail. And I think this tool will provide that. I got to take a moment cleaning this face shield. It's just too dirty for me to see out of. Most of y'all probably aware of this technique. When you clean your face shield, if you'll use leftover anti-static sheets from the dryer, it will help reduce the static on your face shield. It'll help keep the dust down. Oh wow, yeah, I can see now. much improved. Okay, I'm going to sand this off camera. Okay, I sanded this to 400, and I used a little abrasive paste. I normally wouldn't do that on the outside of the bowl because I'd be using a Beal buff, but I wanted y'all to be able to see just how sweet the chatoyance and figure is on this thing. I only sanded it up to 400. I don't see any scratch marks, and that abrasive paste definitely got rid of any micro scratches. So this is just one of the spectacular looking bowl blanks. All right, now let's go ahead and reverse this and do the inside. This seems like a fairly dry blank. It may be green, and that's okay if it is, and if it may move a little bit, I'm not going to care. I'm going to go ahead and once turn it. Okay, shield. Now we're going to go back to that 40/40 grind and see if I can't get a nice smooth cut. We're going to go ahead and take care of this in the middle here shortly. All right. Turn speed up to maybe 800. we're going to come in straight into the center, because this is the easiest way to cut wood side grain. It's easier than hitting that end grain coming around every other turn. But don't get that whole wing in there. You get too much steel on the wood, bad things can happen. Now I think I'm going to go ahead and put a depth hole in here, so I'll just chamfer a slight center there. Okay. Use my 1/4 inch handheld drill. See how deep I want to go. It's got little scratch marks on it, so I can see about where the depth is. So I want to go past this one by just a bit, and that'll just about. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Clear it often. I don't have it perfectly centered, but for what I'm doing, it won't matter. Put down firm pressure. Whoa. That initial cut is a tricky one. Here's where we start hitting a lot of end grain. Now, I need to round over this bead, but I think I will do a little more hollowing before I get too concerned with that. So I'm going to come in with the bevel perpendicular to the wood. It's going to make a shadow line. Now, I want to go ahead and define exactly the width. I think I need to take one more, make it just a bit smaller. And just, whoo, it's a little bit warm. A little friction there. Come in right here, brace my thumb so it doesn't kick out on me. Now I know exactly how thick that bead's going to be. So in case this wood starts moving on me, I want to go ahead and get that bead taken care of. I'm going to come over to a 3/8 inch spindle gouge and just do some little shear scraping here. Slow the speed down a little bit, just knock off any flats I might have with a coarser grit. A little finer grit, keeping it moving. And actually, it does work better if you put a backup pad instead of using your fingers. So I'm going to use this little high density foam here. Gives it a nice uniform backing. Let's go back to scoring out the center here. Get the speed up a little bit here. Okay, I think this got a lot of minerals in it. Let me go back to the grinder and try one more time. It's amazing how different it is with a sharp gouge. You don't have to push as hard. You get a cleaner cut. This is a 5/8 compared to that 1/2 inch, so it's got more mass. Alright, need to start thinking about the thickness. So let's use my thickness gauge. Got plenty of room. Okay, it's sharp. Let's go to a bottom feeder. Let's see if I can't clean up the bottom here just a little bit. Okay, oh boy, that is pretty. Okay, still got some thickness down here. Let me pick up the cut one more time. I think I'm gonna go sharpen this tool. All right, got this sharp. Let's try one more time. Anchor the tool, ride the bevel. Far less bounce, cutting much better. Still a bit thick, I think, at the bottom. Yeah, just a little bit thick. Like it thinner there. But it's fairly uniform. Okay, I put a fresh burr on this really thick scraper, and we're just gonna, it's a little bit higher in the middle. Slow feed rate, getting nice shavings. I'm really just cleaning up tool marks, trying to join all of them. See how we're doing here. Feels good, feels good. Still a little thick in the corners here, and got a little bit of a proud spot there. Let's work on that proud spot first. I suspect that burr's gone. Let me go refresh it. First, I take off the old burr, and I'm going to do this one right off the grinder, so after I knock off the burr, platform's still in position. No setup involved. Little bottom. Got just a little spot right there. And I'm getting just the tiniest little tear out, so I think I want to put a little coat of wax in there. I don't want to take any chances, so let me put a little wax. Just want to stiffen those fibers where I'm getting a little tear out on each side of the end grain. Just a real light touch. You can feel these things easier than you can see them, usually. Your hand is quite sensitive. Let's double check. I don't want to rush this thing and get it a little too thick. Nope, that's pretty even thickness. I'm fairly happy with that. All right, I'm going to power sand up through the grits on the bottom, working on the areas that have just a tiny little bit of tear out. But I can tell you, I think I cut all those out, so this is good. I'm starting with 120 grit here. Yep, and I think I'll just do a little hand sanding with this powered on, like this. I actually can't make that curve. I need to get some sandpaper like this to make that curve, and a little bit on the inside there. And I want to sand with the grit across the bottom, get rid of radial scratches. Okay,
Come back with 180, 240, 320, 400. Let's look at the chatoyance and figure in that piece of wood. Is that gorgeous or what? Okay, I got it mounted in my vacuum chuck. Going to use that 40-40 gouge to kind of grind, take away some of the excess, running very true. Get to speed up a little bit. I don't like to turn much faster than, say, no more than 800 with this vacuum chuck. And now I'm just going to come in there and waste away, going right into the side grain. Got to adjust this a little tighter as the vacuum pulls the bowl tighter. Back off a little bit. I like to keep the tailstock support as long as I can. I'll make it slightly concave. I've allowed myself enough thickness to accommodate that little bit of gentle concavity. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and remove the tailstock, and I'm going to come straight in on that waist. And then we're always going to give it a ruler test. Make sure it's flat. Nice. Slightly concave, actually. Now we're going to go ahead and sand that up. Probably mostly do hand sanding. Start off with a little 120 grit. And I think I'll put a couple of small V grooves there in the bottom using my point tool. And where I've got that little bit of a tool mark, maybe I'll hit that with don't have any on the outside, so I'll just come in here and here, and then I'll kind of clean that up with maybe a little 120, a little 400. I got a little 400 where I can get in those grooves and just kind of wiggle it around.
If you enjoyed this video, you may be interested in looking at a number of other videos I have on bowl turning in this playlist. Y'all stay safe. Come on back here.